And hello and welcome back, everybody. We're here for our first night of the round of 16 online qualifiers here for the Oceanic Championship. As my name, of course, is Patreon. We are in a best of 3 here as HotSoggyDecimate on the right-hand side this time are up for one game against Miasma. An epic, almost hour-long, 56 and a bit, almost 57-minute game. And we're here again as, of course, one team must go 2-0 here in order to advance to the top 8 and get one step closer to making the cut for top 4 at PAX. I'm joined for the broadcast, of course, by Papa Smithy and Papa. How you feeling after a it was a marathon game, I guess we'll say, both for them and us?
I think both teams come out of that game with mixed emotions, right? Because both teams at the time looked like they were likely to win that one. Very early, when they were snowballing, HotSoggyDecimate looked really, really strong. It looked like it could be a 20-minute stump, which is not something we expected when we chose this game. But the AoE ults really came up trumps for Miasma in the mid-game, and then kind of as we expected, the blue Ezreal especially just kind of outscaled them. They just couldn't get onto the targets they wanted to, and HotSoggyDecimate pulled out the win. The first time we saw Miasma, we saw them play a poke game. Last game, we saw them play a very AoE CC-focused game. It'd be interesting to see what we see out of these two teams here, because I would be surprised to see the same dynamics 2 games in a row.
Well, already the draft is heating up quickly here. We have Nunu, Thresh, so 2 bans that Miasma had in the last game, and Lux is the adaptation here. Do not want that on Elevate at all. That was very key as well. Both Ezreal and Lux played a crucial part in HotSoggyDecimate's comp, so they decided to ban that one out there as their last one. Nidalee, Twisted Fate, again, 2 similar bans here. Nidalee targeted, of course, over at Chili Philly, and TF just a strong champion in general. But the last ban here, interestingly enough, for purple side, Shen, which leaves Jace over there on the side of Miasma, and Jace a champion, Papa Smithy, that we almost never expect to get through in the draft at this point.
Sure, Jace is just such a lane bully, and he opens up so many flexible comps. Like, he can fit into a team fighting comp. He's, one of the core tenets of a poke comp with someone like a Nidalee. He's a flexible lane bully who really transitions well into late game and is strong early. So it's just one of those picks where you can pick him, you can lock him in, and feel really safe knowing that you're going to do very well in your lane, barring some sort of miracle, and transition well into the late game.
Yeah, so the first picks here, of course, Zac and Elise over on the purple side here, but look at these blocker picks over on the blue side. Lulu and Ezreal snapped up there as the complete duo lane for Miasma, and they're like, you know what, that was pretty good. We're going to take this time around. And honestly, they might not have Lux around, or of course neither team can have it because it's banned, but Jace is pretty good with blue Ezreal for a lot of that kiting and poke. So, I think it's smart to take it away because it was very strong on the HotSoggyDecimate side in that last game. I think almost single-handedly won the game. I think Ezreal and Lux's partnership there definitely went a long way. And they're going to snap that one away, but Vayne looks to be the answer here for HSD, and I think you've described a lot before the Ezreal vs Vayne matchup. Even when Ezreal was king of the world with that slowing attack speed on the W, Vayne seemed to be the go-to champion here, but they may continue the trend of last picking AD here with HotSoggyDecimate, because they thought about Vayne, they were hovering over it, but they're going to go Sona here, and looks like they're going to go for Orianna. So again, both teams kind of blocking each other's picks from last game by picking up the champions they were playing.
And it's just such a shift in dynamic, because now we have the Ezreal on the Miasma side, so they don't need to focus on peel so much. They don't need to. They can trust Ezreal to fend for himself. And they're kind of teasing the Vayne pick on the HotSoggyDecimate side, which of course needs a whole team around her to do damage, needs to be able to free hit. So it's just interesting to see the game developing, the series developing here in ways that you just couldn't expect just from watching the first game.
It would be super interesting if Vayne got snapped up here, but I don't think we're going to see that. We're going to see Jarvan go into the pile again here for Miasma. Did reasonably well last game. Ooh, maybe Nautilus instead. Speaking of freight trains, maybe. We could get it again, Papa Smithy. We did see quite the Nautilus over the weekend, also casting their qualifiers, but they're still thinking about their pick here. And of course, we've got another pick to make here as well. We've got Nautilus and Ryze being moused over here, but 10 seconds left. Ryze gets locked in. And now just 8 seconds left to decide if they want Nautilus, and they do. Is Nautilus going to get locked in here for the jungle? So very, very curious as to what's going on. And I guess the nice thing about both Jace and Ryze's solo lane is that they can kind of go wherever they need to go here depending on matchup. But it looks like they kind of already know what's up. It's probably going to be Zac top, Orianna mid, and I think Vayne might still be the pick here for HotSoggyDecimate, all things considered.
It's an interesting comp here because you have the long-range poke from Ezreal and Jace. You've got the strong team fighters from Nautilus and Ryze, and of course Lulu's able to make anyone that bit more tanky, give anyone at the front that much more CC. So to me, the Miasma Cup kind of centers around this Ryze pick. It's probably going to be a Ryze mid, although, as you point out, very flexible lanes coming out here. And if the Ryze gets really big, if we see this 24-minute Seraph's Embrace Rod of Ages Ryze, is able to stand in the front and not have to worry about his positioning just because he's so big, then get the Lulu buff, then get, Nautilus coming in with all his CC, I think the Miasma Cup can be really strong. I feel like if Ryze is held down in lane, they're going to struggle a lot.
Yeah, and that's kind of classically just the thing about Ryze. He takes a little while to get going, as you said, needs some of his items. I always describe Catalyst plus Tier as kind of Ryze's jumping off platform, so when he gets to that point, it's what happens after that that really matters. Kind of like, you need to kind of pour a bunch of energy into Ryze, and then once he's got those two items, it's up to him to kind of make the best of them and see what he can do from there. But a fed Ryze is very, very scary, Papa Smithy, and comps are Ryze-centric for a reason. He's a very influential champion when things are going right, and I guess the same applies when things aren't going right either. So an interesting last pick here. I think very bold, almost, in a way, from Miasma, but they're clearly saying, hey, we feel confident in our lanes, we feel confident in Chiliphilly, our mid player, playing this Ryze, and we're going to take it. And it's kind of funny to see both teams picking each other's champions for most of the way through this draft, to have them kind of shake up and be like, we're going to mix a Ryze in here. And I do like this adaptation from HotSoggyDecimate. Zach's going to go into the jungle here for Hot Soggy Noodles, and we're going to have Suna in the top lane, presumably against Jace. Now, we mentioned how good Jace was. According to you, Papa, I believe you told me over the weekend that one of the worst matchups for Jace, someone who splits or wins most of his lanes, is probably Elise.
Well, that basically comes down to the fact that Jace's his basic stats, his health, his armor, his magic resist, much more in line with an AD carry than with a traditional top laner. So Elise is able to just do massive damage with those EQ combos, the range form Q, the Q and execute in spider form. And Jace just can't go toe-to-toe in damage there. The only real option Jace has in that lane is perhaps an all-in, at level 2 or a jungler gank, or just to abuse his EQ wave clear and just push Elise in. Because, of course, Elise is all about maxing her Q. She's not going to max her W just because you sacrifice too much damage output there. She doesn't have the wave clear to match the EQ combo that Jace can push out.
Absolutely. And, Jace, for all his poke, for all his range, for all these wonderful transformations, repel onto your face and then into just all sorts of nastiness is never going to be fun times for Jace. So you're right, and these options are definitely more limited, and a very versatile champion with a lot of abilities, almost all of them it seems like sometimes, could be problems there. And as I said, I really like that swap up there, putting Zach into the jungle. And Zach, kind of a champion we saw a reasonable amount over the qualifiers. I'm not too sure how he's been going, but I believe Zach's a fairly popular champion, mainly as a laner, actually, in the top lane, because he's kind of one of those laners that, as you described, Papa, just kind of splits the lane he's in. He's like, I might not win, I'm probably not going to beat you, but, I'll get my farm, I'll be happy, and I'm not too worried. He's got good wave clear, got decent damage, and pretty tanky and hard to put out a lane as well. But instead, we're going to have the opposite here. It's going to be the ganking Zach there with that slingshot. And
the inspiration about that pick, one of the reasons why it shines through is that when you're in the top lane, you don't get to max out Slingshot unless it's maybe your third or second max. You're second at a push because you just lose lane presence. You max your Q to have some wave clear, you max your W for damage trades, and you kind of have to leave that Slingshot at one point. Whereas Zach in the jungle, he can actually max his Slingshot and not really sacrifice jungle clear for it. And one of the reasons why max Slingshot is so important here is that Zach is probably the best champion in the game, the best single pick at dealing with a poke comp, dealing with a Jace, dealing with an Ezreal, just because that deceptive range on the Slingshot, you can never really know, without some really amazing warding, you can never really be completely safe from a Zac initiate. So it's kind of the worry that they have there for Miasma is that Zac with that max Slingshot is always going to be able to get to the backline and disrupt with that ultimate.
And of course, his ultimate's pretty good. Let's Bounce is going in there, doing damage, knocking some people up, slowing them as well. He's got all that cool stuff. But, we mentioned last game, Orianna was on the other team. Orianna needs a ball carry. Somebody has to do it. She can't do it herself.
It's risky with Zac, though, pastry time, because, it's very easy to get out of her leash range if you do that max range initiate.
But what sweeter way to Orianna combo somebody with a Zac? I mean, it's not quite, straightforward, I guess, as Jarvan Malphite Orianna, as of course we saw in the last game there from Miasma, but it certainly has a similar amount of potential. And I have to say, one of the nice other adaptations I like. You mentioned last game that, HotSoggyDecimate, they played a really nice Elise game there with Elise in the jungle, but part of the problem is that she didn't really have any friends to help dive. In this case, it definitely has a friend now in Zac as well, and maybe Elise is the one that gets to ride the ball in instead as Zac starts things off, so I like that Elise has a friend here to dive, a dive buddy, always very important. And we'll see. I think this comp's going to play out very differently, of course, with that Ezreal and the Lux both being taken away here, either by being banned or being picked up. So a little bit more straightforward here. Definitely reminds me of the comp that Miasma played last game, but I don't think is quite nearly as all-in and all the CC. They've got a little more room to maneuver with the control of Orianna, and even stuff like Sonar Ult just as kind of a backup, either for counter-initiating or just initiating herself if they're winning aggressively in a team fight.
It still does feel a little bit like the shoes on the other foot here, just because, when we get to the round of 16 games, you were referring to the fact that we've seen a lot of picks stolen away. Part of that's the adaptation of a series where you're like, well, I play, Ezreal pretty good as well, so let's take that away. But part of that's just because the really top-tier competitive pool of champions to pick, it's not the 100, 120 champions that might be represented. I imagine if you go through the data on this tournament, the early rounds, you would have seen a lot of those picks. We saw Vegas, for example, and champions like that you just don't see in the highest level competitive play because it goes down from the 114 or however many champions there are right now to maybe that top 30 picks that kind of get recycled again and again.
Yeah, and there's, kind of two forms of metagame there. There's the overall metagame, which is, these are competitive champions that have been tested and tried and that, people understand how to build and how to play with and how to put in a team, etc. And then there's, the metagame of just an extended series here. In this case, a best of three where each team learns the other team very, very actively as the series continues. And that's definitely represented here with a lot of those picks being taken. And
the first game is kind of like the only scouting report you have against a lot of these teams, just because some teams haven't been formed for a lot of time. There isn't a lot of information on a lot of teams. You can't just go to Leaguepedia and look up HotSoggyDecimate, for example, although feel free to go right now and have a quick look. But,
or make the page.
But, you can't do that. So all you can really rely on is, well, what did we see from the first game? What did we learn from that? And how can we use that to advantage?
Yeah, and so two different little metagames that are definitely adding up to, I guess, a lot of overlapping picks as a result. And Shu most certainly does feel like it's on the other foot here, but we'll see. There's certainly enough differences here to make this game interesting, and if it's anything like Game 1, we're in for yet another blockbuster ride here. And I hope you guys at home are enjoying it, of course, and hope you're in for the long haul. If you haven't gone to the bathroom yet, you may want to get in the next 10 seconds or so before these jungle mobs spawn, because we certainly had a long one, almost an hour long there for Game 1. Unprecedented amount of length, actually, for a game here in these qualifiers so far, but as Papa said, as we get into the nitty-gritty, into the top 16, we certainly expect the level of play to go up and the teams to be more evenly matched. And certainly after that game, I don't think HotSoggyDecimate have a clear win here, even though they won Game 1. They're definitely going to have to fight for this one. You have to bet Miasma are going to be trying to take it to Game 3 here.
It's just one of those things where both teams started this series 2 matches away from PAX Australia, from a guaranteed $5,000, from the flights, and from all the attention of being at kind of the Oceanic esport event for 2013. So you can see that you just can't take quite the same level of risks when there's so much on the line.
No, not at all. And the tournament is not called the Oceanic Championships for nothing. It is most certainly, I think, not only a great opportunity, it's such a rare, unique thing that's never really happened in Australia before. Very exciting, clearly going to be very awesome there at PAX. I certainly hope most of you watching can join us, but if not there, certainly on the stream. But arguably, you are the best team in Oceania as well. At least for this season.
And you get to go to Gamescom if you are the best team in Oceania.
You do.
But just being in the top 4, just being able to be up there with, the old guard, probably the likes of Immunity and Eclipse that I imagine will be up there, is just an honor in itself.
It really is. You're one of the 4 teams to finish in such a big tournament here for the first time in Oceania. Definitely wins a big thing, and neither team wants to go home here. It is best of 3. There's a couple more chances, but still single elimination as we move through. Only the top 4 teams get to go. And of course, if you're playing at home, you realize we are in the top 16 here. Night 1 here is Elevate and Chillyfilly trading very aggressively back and forth here. In fact, Orianna almost baiting there just by stopping. There's a couple of autos, almost looked disconnected for a second, but had complete control of that situation. Chillyfilly actually forced to flash away there. And up at the top lane soon.
It feels like the second time, though, Pastry Time, that HotSoggyDecimate have been able to judge a situation early and take advantage of it. Another case of, hey, I've got Ignite, you've got Teleport, I'm going to win this trade.
Yeah, and Oriana's just like, all right, let's rumble. Here comes Zac down the bottom. Great cocoon there as Bubble Kings get knocked up at Zac. Little too low, going to take so much damage from that turret. but thankfully does not pop the passive, and of course does not feed the first blood over either. So a very aggressive dive there from HotSoggy Noodles out of the jungle, but gives a lot of pressure here to this lane. I think, crucially helps push it in for Suna and helps keep that aggression going here in this lane. Because against Jace, you have to keep him down early if you can afford it.
And with Zac, you can always have that passive in your pocket if you haven't popped it and just say, hey, I can miscalculate a little bit here, and if we pick up the kill, it's probably going to be better than just a trade because it's probably going to be a kill and just using the passive.
Elevate in mid has used so much mana though. Nautilus is coming around.
Up top here, Suna, so much damage.
Oh, Bubble King's gonna be in trouble. One more damage, ignite, flash, auto attack, will pick it up. And Elevate did manage to escape through in the mid as well, so nice bit of pressure there from Suna. And what do we say about face checking Papa there? Good grab in the mid from Cardinal, going to elevate the damage out as well. And there's the slow from HotSoggy Noodles, just in here to relieve some of that pressure. Elevate going to feel pretty happy, just chug down a few health potions, and very nice bit of pressure there converts to a quick kill there for Suna. And Jace, unfortunately, against Elise's Jace, especially after all that jungle pressure, cannot afford to be face-checking them brushes, unfortunately. And thankfully...
8 times out of 10, Elise isn't there, but he didn't really gain anything. Like, there were no minions in there. There was no reason to face-check that brush. It was just it was almost the Garen conundrum of, I wonder if he's in there. And guess what? He was.
Yeah, I really want to know, but when I check, I hope they're not in there. Instead, of course, oh no, I'll just check. And up they are there. Jace, to his credit, he certainly had that information, but probably to his demise, unfortunately. And Cardinal, he's going to spot off Zephyrus, who's roaming very close towards mid. I think wants to put a ward or two down, but has to be afraid of Nautilus now. And Vayne now alone down the bottom as a result. But Crewy pretty low here in this trade, and I alluded to it earlier, Papa, but Vayne seems to have an advantage up against Ezreal. All those tumbles, if you can avoid the skill shots, a lot of Ezreal's damage come from those spells, and in particular that Mystic Shot. And Vayne here happily 1v2, he actually almost gets the kill, forced to cleanse out, there's a Mystic Shot, just misses at the back. And us certainly going to come in for a couple more heals, but I will Decimate very confident in his play there with his support going.
It's that tumble patch you time. Even when Ezreal slowed attack speed with the Essence Flux, if you could tumble the Essence Flux, you were going to win that trade, because with Vayne's passive, closing the distance is always really, really easy for him, especially when you have the movement speed multiplier when you get the ultimate. So if you're really on point with your tumbles, it's actually quite a navigatable lane for Vayne, even though she struggles in a lot of similar matchups.
And I think definitely exemplified there by our Decimate, almost 1v2ing very cleanly there. Have to mention up in the top lane, good thought there by Bubble Kings. Checked the bush this time with his Q and spotted off Zac, who was hiding in there looking for another gank. Suna level 6 now, which is not as big as, I guess, other champions. Of course, the Transformation Champion. Just kind of get an extra transform level. But, certainly helps Elise's damage in general. I believe makes all the Spider Form abilities that much juicier as well. And certainly gives you a couple of those extra free stats.
It gives you the on-hit damage from the Spiderlings and, of course, the extra Spiderling there.
And extra Spiderling. That Spiderling, man. He's very strong.
Well, one extra Spiderling can take one more turret hit when you're turret diving. Little things like that could be the difference.
Bubble King doing a good job actually clearing out the waves. Does dodge the cocoon there. But Suna definitely still in control of this lane up in the top. You can see the CS here almost 10 behind here for JC. He's going to pick up a couple more as that wave does push into the tower. But Suna's going to go back. You have to think with that gold. Has not spent that yet either after that first gank. It's the only kill on the map, in fact. And there we are. Haunting Guys finished up and a cloth armor here for Elise. I think Jace's work's going to start being really cut out for him now in the top.
And now damage trades, just not something Jace can think about here. He just needs to, he has the tier here, so he does have a decent mana pool. He just needs to push those waves and stay as far back as possible. Don't check any brushes. They're really toxic brushes here, Jace. Just stay away from them and just get as much CS as possible.
Yeah, speaking of CS, I think in the mid lane we're just having a farm fest here. It's actually surprisingly advantageous for Orianna. I think Elevate's been using, aggressively was playing early on there in that lane. You could see really pushing guys in and trying to do damage. Now it's counter jungling of all things.
Bubble King's being just as flexible as possible here not to die. Very nice smooth moves.
Teleporting from Ryzo, trying to make it happen. Good repel out there from Suna. And that completes the counter jungle there for Elevate, who stole away red buff as an AP mid, if you can believe that. And Suna there just repels that. Good attempt there from Chili Philly to try and bait him in there. You could tell the plan there for Miasma, but not going to quite work out. Cardinal forced to flash away in his own jungle now as well. Double buff Elevate, very, very deadly. And we don't talk about AP mids or AP champions and red buff very often, but Orianna, she's got a pretty good kick to her auto attacks with that Clockwork wind-up passive, and double buffs here for Orianna, not trivial in terms of damage output.
I just feel like Elevate's kind of channeling the spirit of Reginald here in this particular game. Last game, his positioning was really on point. Like a lot of the mid game where they were suffering, I mean, having Elevate so flexible, zoning with his EQs and being in really smart positioning kept them in the game. In this game, he's just being a lane bully.
He really is. It all started at those first early levels, and, if you're going to try and keep Rise down, you have to do it early before he gets those items really rolling. And I mean, Elevate's done an admirable job here keeping him down. Still going to tick over that blue off. HotSoggyDecimate looking for something. He was down the bottom earlier, but he was sitting on top of a ward there in that tri-bush. Now maybe hoping that Nautilus walks by, but does walk out of the jungle there. Oh, maybe not. Turns around, maybe you saw something. Squirrel? No, not so much. Going to walk back down towards bottom lane now. And maybe try his luck again here. Sona not quite level 6, very close. Actually a creep off, so the call may have been made to come down here and, maybe do a flash ult, make some plays. Exhaust is up as well, but looks like they're just going to have to back off here. And all the lanes kind of settling into a passive mode. Bottom lane pretty even here. You can see the CS Bane a little bit ahead there. Decimate's been playing well. Top lane, actually, we've got trouble. There's a very nice solo kill there from Suna. And that is not good news for Jason, the top lane. He's getting solo dived by Elise, who's cleanly killing him. That's really bad news, especially because mid lane's not going great for them either. And Miasma, all of a sudden, they played great last game. They were behind early, and I think a little more behind here in this situation. All the lanes seem to be winning here for HotSoggyDecimate. And they've got to try and make something happen.
All the lanes are winning, and they're being so aggressive. Although down bottom we might see an engage. The max range anchor was probably 10 pixels away from picking up a kill there.
And a good condemn as well there. I think Ezreal, I believe it uses Arcane Shift as mid lane here. We have problems with Chili Philly. There's the flash ultimate coming out. Great combo in there from Orianna as well as the ult comes off. And the snare there stops Zac in mid-air comically enough. And HotSoggyDecimate forced to get out of there. Chili Philly gets his health back to activate Desperate Power down the bottom lane. I believe we have problems with Cruelly. Flash forward there from a Vayne. Barrier coming in there as well. Maybe needs one more auto attack. And a nice exhaust there from Morzeum to keep that all under wraps. Zephyrus quite low there, but Sona's going to be able to walk away from that one. Spamming off the W button. And for all the aggression in lane, not converted for the most part, except for the top lane Suna, 2-0 already, and crucially that top tower down as well.
But what we've been seeing is we've seen Elise at Jace's turret, turret diving Jace. We've seen Orianna at Ryze's turret pushing it in there, and Nautilus just hasn't been able to translate that overextension into kills. Part of that's some smart warning. We saw Zephyrus earlier getting those aggressive wards down to facilitate the aggressive play, but just Nautilus has been kind of irrelevant, despite the fact that we always focus on the fact that, hey, he's got 4 CCs. That's a lot to follow up on.
It is certainly. It is. But, when none of them land, unfortunately, it's kind of hard to land the next one. I mean, he's got his ultimate now. Going to make things a little easier there with that clicky CC. But at least rotating down as well from top lane. Jace has to know something's up. It's all the ward crucially times out in the bottom lane. And Suna here could really get in amongst it. I have to say, I think a lot of this aggression is really exemplified by an item in Ryze's build there. Good ward there from Morzeum, going to check that Elise out. But Ryze actually has, he's got tier, which makes sense. Now he has his Catalyst. But before that Catalyst, he actually had the Charles of Harmony that you can see there. So clearly was a little afraid of that Orianna wanted a little bit of extra magic resist. And Suna here going to look in.
It's one of those cases where usually Catalyst is enough to keep you alive in lane. The Chalice is probably too much money spent on, mana regen related items. It does give him a bit of magic resist, but maybe the Merc Treads would have been a smarter pickup there.
Yeah, or maybe just a Negatron Cloak if you really wanted cost-effective ammo. I mean, Elevate's actually getting chunked here with no mana, forced to flash out there. So nice trade there from Chili Philly. And down the bottom, I think we caught it. Elise, half health, poor Lulu, with just Cocoon Combo into the Q plus W. Then Neurotoxin into Volatile Spiderling. And that was Suna without this needlessly large rod. That was just the haunting, guys. I think, if that's happening to Lulu, Jace can't be particularly happy. HotSoggyDecimate comes in there, forcing the flash out there from Bubble Kings. And, I mean, Elise is coming back to this lane. There's no way Jace can stand toe-to-toe.
Vayne's picked up the Blade of the Ruin King here, so you can see now that there's never a free time for Ezreal to just farm down in bottom lane here, just because the dueling has gone through the roof from Vayne. There'll be no chance for Ezreal to stay in this lane 1v1, so he needs to be smart about his movements now.
I mean, he basically has to hope to poke off here. I mean, he does have an aggressive item. He's got Spirit of the Elder Lizard completed. I don't know if we saw that from HotSoggyDecimate last game.
We did not.
But the aggressive choice here for Krui, going for almost, I guess, the flavor of the month style item, but definitely the more aggressive of the blue options here. Now there's a tier off in there as well. Going to build up towards his Muramana. It was Manamune, I guess. Oh, goodness, top lane here. Suna going in 2v1. Gets the kill there, but I don't think can get out. He's already used Repel. And Bubble Kings crucially gets the shutdown for some bonus gold there. But, I mean, if Suna's diving like that, they can't be good news here. HotSoggyDecimate get a slingshot his way out there. Chili Philly almost gets the kill there. And Ryze definitely chugging along now. Has got his items, got a second blue up for himself. Kind of actually equaled, slightly ahead now on farm there of the mid lane. So Elevate I think forced to be a little absent, can't quite trade with Ryze as nicely. So the things are looking up a little more. Chili Philly actually down the bottom, a good condemn into Crescendo there. And they have to get that Ryze out of the way. Another aggressive teleport there from Ryze, but Noodles is down here as well. Zeph with no ultimate could be in a little bit of trouble. Cruy, Blade the Ruin King, great slingshot in there from HotSoggy, and Elevate's now down here as well. Chili Philly could be in trouble. Great ultimate back in there, and Zach carrying that ball to victory, turning it around for his team with that knock-up. And that's going to be the bottom tower here as well. Great play there, full man, from HotSoggyDecimate.
Yeah, the teleport pickup here has just been a big bust. The first time it forced him to lose a damage trade in mid when Orianna was able to exploit the fact that he had teleport. And it hasn't worked out for him with the counter ganks down bottom lane either.
And straight to Dragon it is as well for HotSoggyDecimate, and I don't blame him here. Zach's going to slingshot himself over the top there into Dragon, and it's going to be a pretty quick one here. Even the Pink Blood plays down just to make sure there is no vision. I mean, they can try and snipe it with Ezreal maybe, but it's going to be too late for that. And you can see the two-shot project minimap flying in, going to basically just annoy Decimate there and stop his back. I mean, in and amongst
last game, things were pretty close at the 15-minute stage. 4K gold lead's not the end of the world, but, taking into little microcosms, top lane is definitely a loss for Miasma here. They've really, really struggled the Jace here against the Elise. In the mid lane, Ryze has kind of clawed his way back into it, so that's one thing there. He's starting to work on his core, but his core is going to be delayed because of that Charles pickup. And down bottom lane, just because of the matchup here, even though it's been largely even, Ezreal always has to think about something against a Vayne with Blade the Ruin King.
Yeah, as you said, 1v1, Blade of the Ruin King Van, very scary. His Elevate's going pretty deep. Desperate power action activated from Chili Philly, Nautilus Splash hook there, and that's going to be the end of Elevate. Ultimate does not actually finish. Fizzles indeed. Dies there in the middle of the animation, and it's just like, nope, I don't want to do anything. So Elevate there, tried to get a little bit in, but can't quite do it. Does, thankfully, I believe, have it still on cooldown there. Oh my goodness, Sooner. The damage there onto that Nautilus as HotSoggy goes in. Thankfully for Jace, he did manage to get the top tower there in Elise's absence, but you're right in that lane is not looking all that great. Bottom lane actually had a little bit of trouble here. Sona's rotated through, and Decimate's having trouble. He can definitely 1v1 this Ezreal, having a little bit of trouble 2v1 here, unfortunately. And is trying to clear out these creeps as quickly as possible. Sooner down the bottom, going to try and make the difference. I think happily would kill either of these two. And we're going to see what Elise going to do. He repels onto once Ezreal if he can. Cocoon does hit off there, but Sooner quite low. They're taking a lot of damage. That Spirit of the Elder Lizard can never be underestimated. No flash here for Zephyr, so he can't flash Crescendo if that was his plan. But just going to come down and heal up Sooner a little bit, push this wave out, and make the bottom lane think twice here about really pushing aggressively, because having no outer turret there, that was a pretty aggressive push there, pushing onto the tower from the blue side bottom lane.
And all this Elise pressure is allowing Jace to get some free farm and get back into the game a little bit. We check the CS is now even between Jace and Elise. Something we would have almost expected at the start of the game, just because, again, talking about that wave clear advantage that Jace has, but Jace has struggled. We've seen Jace get turret dive for kills twice alone here. So that's a win for Miasma to have a bit more farm on their important Jace.
HotSoggy's going to go in there, wants to try and get Chili Philly around the back. Good ultimate there from Orianna coming in, and Sooner diving in there as well, but can't quite get it done. Zach's passive actually pops there as soon as he gets picked up, and really nice defense under tower there. All the Zach blobs going to go down, just need a couple more, and Cardinal's going to pick up the last blob hit there and get credit for that kill. So, good attempt there, very aggressive dive, but a little short there. And now I will Decimate is in. Ooh. Was, I think, lucky to not get followed by To the Skies. And I think, going to be able to walk away as the rest of the team back off.
So I don't know about you, but it feels like Ryze has been doing a lot of damage in his trades, right? Like, people are really exploding in damage trades. So that's not something you usually associate with Ryze this early into the game. So I had a look here. If we click on Chili Philly here, he's actually maxing his Spell Flux second, which I think is a masterstroke almost. If you read the tooltip, 21 magic resist per bounce. And because Orianna's been playing so aggressive, we've talked about Reginald-styled Orianna, going for those 1v1s, he is getting the bounces between himself and Orianna. 3 bounces, potential for 63 magic resist shred, even though Orianna's gone for the Athene's Unholy Grail here. She's actually being, quite naked in terms of magic resist because of these trades.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's common on Ryze or if that's just something that's been popular recently.
It's in peaks and troughs. There was a time when maxing E second and going an Abyssal Scepter was quite popular, but it's almost always CC duration these days with the W second max.
Sure. I mean, it almost feels like an adaptation to the aggression that Elevate's shown. I mean, if he's willing to 1v1, you're right, it's like, okay, I'll take my 1v1 skill. And you're right in that it is certainly a masterstroke here in this situation from Chili Philly. And just to clarify, that's reduction, boys and girls. That is the good stuff when it comes to shredding magic resists. Putting people into negative does even more damage. More than tons of damage, whatever that is. And you're right, and that Rise got a lot of value out there to 1v1ing people with that one.
Still way behind on his core, though, in terms of the Rod of Ages, for example. 19 minutes, still only got the parts for an Rod of Ages so far.
Yeah, and unfortunately, 10 minutes is a long time for the item to charge up. So if he gets it around now, it's going to take him. It's going to be around 30 minutes when he's going to have that one fully charged and ready to go. So you're right in that Grail and possibly even the upgraded Merc Treads. He's actually got Home Guard up already. I mean, as you said, I like the Merc. As you said, sorry, you suggested Merc Treads might be a nice cost-effective buy, and I like that he's gone for that choice here. But definitely delaying his core, as you said, by a little bit here. And Zephyrus again with a reasonably aggressive Oracles. I mean, he's done the same thing here. He's got double GP10 Sightstone, not the Ruby Sightstone. And he's already got the Oracles cleaning it through. In fact, just clicking on him now, he just got it. Probably had it for about a minute or so, or just under. But that's again another aggressive Oracles here from their support player.
The old adage in patches past, with the permanent oracles was, hey, the laning phase has ended, pick up an oracles. Some teams have shaded away from that. At the start of Season 3 especially, people kind of started to question the value of oracles. We saw a lot more pink wards being picked up. We've returned to laning phase over, pick up that oracles.
Yeah, certainly on the HotSoggyDecimate side. And they're going to look for some sort of initiation here. The ball is riding onto Zach. As we said, there is wombo combo potential. I think Dragon is
the Dragon area. Is it due soon?
I would have to assume so. I mean, the other thing here for HotSoggyDecimate is that they really need to take this mid tower out if they can. It's pretty low on a couple hundred health. Looks like the timer here must be nice and crisp.
12 seconds, I believe.
Well, should be up soon then. You can tell why they've rotated over to the area. They've got the Oracles, remember, so they know they have exclusive vision in this area. All they have to do is catch somebody. Elastic Slingshot. I think he's going to cancel it. No, never mind, he goes in. Ultimate, I think, whipped there for Orianna, but they tried to get in there. But Decimate completely dropped by the desperate power of Rise. Chili Philly destroying people with the AoE there in the back. And Elise now finally dives on. The Decimate's still alive, getting a lifesteal back up with Blade of the Ruin King. And there's a kill for Elevate onto the support, but Decimate's so low. Crewy chasing. Good block there from Elevate, but can't quite get out of auto attack range. I think Elevate's going to pay for it with his life now as well. There's the acceleration gate. Blinking there as well from Ezreal with the Arcane Shift. And a clean ace there. And that Rise must be a master with that Essence Flux Mac. He destroyed Vayne.
And the combo did hit their page time, unless it was one of those fizzle bugs. It looked like the combo hit perfectly on the team, but we always talk about, hey, Zach, he does counter those poke comps. He does counter Jace to a degree because he can close distance. But his team could not close distance around that ridge. Ezreal and Jace freely fought off the diver, fought off the Zach, and Vayne didn't have the protection, so team fight win goes to Miasma.
Absolutely. A clean ace there. 5 for 2, I believe, all told there in the kill score, and Dragon picked up there as well for Miasma. So
for a piecemeal Rise, low page 2 time, I've never seen someone put out as much damage as Chili Philly is doing here.
It's almost like between games or after the series, you may have to look at some of those numbers, because that Rise really is destroying people. And you know, it may be a product of the Essence Flux here, that's certainly helping, but I agree, he is just doing silly amounts of damage with his ultimate turned on. Oh, Zephyrus, I think your Oracles is going, buddy. Chili Philly gonna get in there and just completely destroys Sonar. In fact, actually still alive there, Orianna comes in to save him, but again just turns in there, wants everyone he can find here. Chili Philly,
he only knows one direction, that's towards the enemy.
Here's the wing of Rise there, but good knock up there. Oh, Decimate going in as well. Orianna does hit this time if it didn't hit last time. And that's going to be the end of Rise. Unfortunately, no follow-up kills there for HotSoggyDecimate, but that was a nice long string of baits there. And, speaking of, we talked about aggressive mids before. You can certainly bait somebody going in a little too deep there, and that Rise feels unstoppable, apparently. Just did not want to stop there, but was stopped eventually. It finally goes down there.
Some side pushing here isn't going to pick up the turret. Looks like we're going to see the turret advantage for HotSoggyDecimate here.
Good cocoon there onto Bubble Kings, but can't quite get in range to follow up. We'll take out the mid turret that they want to, though. And Crewy is going to try to do what he can here. Elastic Slingshot in, going to go on top of the minions very intelligently. And nice wave clear from Zach. One of the reasons is seen in the top lane. He really does clear those waves out quickly. And oh goodness, I think Crewy's dead. Ezreal, it's going to have to be all sorts of fancy blinks if you want to get out of this one. There's the start of it. Oh, I heard the Condemn go off as well.
Does not have the Iceborne Gauntlet here. He is in trouble.
Good move over. There's a nice slow though. There's at least on top of him though. And goodbye, Crewy. Jace there with a little bit of poke coming in, does a nice bit of AoE. Elevate actually gets knocked with the Decimate in there as well. Kings goes in there, tries to assassinate that Orianna, but can't quite get it done. And here comes Chili Philly. You gotta know it's the AoE. Does pick up Orianna, and the damage almost destroys Vayne in there as well. Hot Soggy Noodles getting out. Good hook there onto Suna, but they can't quite finish it up. Again, the damage coming in Suna so low. And Rice, he's killing everyone.
The AoE on the bounces, because the spell flux, importantly, it's been maxed first. It's doing about 170 before the mana ratio, about 200 damage or so. But it's bouncing in AoE and it's bouncing frequently. There's a lot of clumping coming out of the HotSoggyDecimate team here. And Rice's damage is destroying them.
Yeah, you saw all those three squishies kind of cleared up there. Vayne almost dies and Orianna got killed in just AoE when Desperate Power got turned on. So, Chili Philly, he's doing work right now. And you did say, Papa, Miasma's team, felt very Rise-centric. And, you know, if that's going to be the case, that's
doing them proud.
He really is. He's doing good old America proud with that skin as well. He wants you, Papa Smithy, and I guess his team wants him, and he's going to collect that blue buff now as well. So, Chili Philly almost at level 16 as well, by the way. If that ultimate is anything to go by, having an extra rank in there certainly can't hurt. And I mean, you know, his course finish now, his Rod of Ages has been charging for 6 minutes.
So about 4 minutes from that max, he does have max tier 2, so probably going to work on that Seraph's Embrace. He has the golden.
I'm sure it's going to be
power jump coming.
And there it is. Almost 3,000 mana in the pool, and a whole bunch of other juice in this as well. I mean, this is it, Papa. He's 4 minutes away from his core being fully charged up, and even then, I think he's happy where he is now. I mean, not the 20-minute terror that you were describing, but 25 and a half minutes is not too bad in this situation.
Sure, he doesn't have the max rod. He's maybe a minute behind of having the items done, but to be fair, he does have the chalice on top of it, so he has gone for some of those utility purchases to get him through lane.
And he does have max CDR with that blue buff up as well. I don't think he would do it without... I think Desperate Power actually gives CDR. No, it does not. I'm incorrect.
Move speed.
Move speed, yes.
AoE.
And Spellbomb and Deliciousness, yes. Oh, Museum again. Oh, the magnet. Poor Lulu. Doesn't matter the support Museum's playing. Seems to Elevate just wants to kill him. And he does it again there. Not quite a Lux ultimate, but snaps him off with the ultimate there from Orianna. Here comes the ball riding in. Zac thinks about it, cancels the slingshot though. Orianna ultimate is down. Actually uses to kill Zyra, but soon is going to go in there. They want Chili Philly, they know the target, they need Crescendo. Doesn't quite tag him on the end as he flashes out, but its bounce happens, and the rest of the team going to clean it up. A Decimate going to go in there as Bubba King's cleans up Sona. Noodles very low, Crewy low in there as well. Decimate's got to be careful though, the Rise could get in. The Seraph's Embrace goes off, he's doing the damage. Decimate low in there as well. Elevate's going to try and control this one off. He's going to flash out of the way, very low for Zac in there. So Crewy crucially low at a key moment there, and oh my goodness, that was so close to being almost a double ace. But 3 members there survive on slivers of health for HotSoggyDecimate, and 4 quick kills, 4 necessary kills as well, as Lulu is the only one left standing, who was actually dead the whole time there after getting picked up by Elevate.
And it was almost a 4v5 victory there. The one crucial decision, and I'm not going to call it a misplay, was Curry used his Arcane Shift very defensively when Rise was looking to trade damage. Rise wasn't in a position to run away, and so missed out on 3 or 4 auto attacks on a single target. It's possible it would have been that double ace situation if he just hadn't opened up so much damage. It's one of those things where you want to be safe. You're the AD carry, but they just lost a lot of DPS out of it.
Yeah, your instincts always tell you, go backwards, but you may be right in that crucial moment. It would have been correct to actually do the wing and go forward there with Arcane Shift. But I mean, no objectives there, crucially, taken out there for HotSoggyDecimate. So just a couple of kills there. And everyone kind of resets, respawns, sends a bit of the gold they would have got in their last fight. And again, we're shaping up for another nice game here. We're approaching 28 minutes here in this one. And Baron absolutely has to be on the menu here for both these teams. Was that Dragon's going to be next though? Or first course at least, going to do an entree. And Vayne and Zac should be able to do this one pretty comfortably on their own. And that's going to give them a nice bit of bonus gold. Zephyr's even going to clear it out. Ooh. Attempt there from Kui to seal it with a Mystic Shot. Doesn't quite get it. Zac doesn't save his smite either, so I guess Baron's not going to be quite there for another minute or so, but I think they're not too afraid. They feel comfortable with their map control, that they're able to spot them off doing Baron. And I mean, again, we have another game pretty comfortably balanced on a knife edge here, Papa Smithy. The tower's pretty clean, the kill's exactly even, a couple of thousand gold ahead here. About 2k up right now for HotSoggyDecimate, but certainly one fight this way or the other could make a whole world of difference here.
Now, we just had the first Mirror Mana completed on the Miasma side, probably about 40 seconds away from Ezreal following that up and getting his own. Those are smaller kind of power jumps. They're not sheer item purchases, but they are item transformations that potentially going to add a lot more DPS to the next Miasma team fight.
Yeah, and given that a lot of that AD damage does come out from Jason Ezreal, they're going to be happy to have that. Ryze, of course, is on the train. He's been riding the damage train. Very curious to see what he builds next. Chili Philly thinking about catching somebody up
really aggressively here. They see splitting, double split push was occurring here. They don't have the wave to support them, but they really want to get some turret damage here.
Yeah, Cardinal's actually going to face tank this one up as well. In fact, Chili Philly uses ultimate aggressively for the moves, but Elder going to get caught. That good crescendo from Zephyrus. Great ultimate followed up there as well. And I think Stone is going to go down, gets popped up there as well by the ultimate of Nautilus. But Vayne now coming to play cleanup. Little too deep here as the team is split up, and Chili Philly is going to try the 1v4, but can't quite get there. And the slingshot's coming in as well. Decimate aggressively forward there. HotSoggy Noodles almost finds the Q for the slow there as his arms stretch out. But can't quite get it. Sooner looking to follow up here as well. Dodging Iceborne Gauntlet procs left, right, and center. And Elise can't quite get in repel range. Lulu actually the one to slow her down eventually. But some nice juke boots there on for Sooner.
The irony there was that Miasma did the correct thing. They noticed, hey, split pushing top and bot. We don't have a wave, but I'm tanky. Let's go and push this down. If that anchor toss had missed, they would have got the turret, and that would have been a successful push. But they hit the anchor toss, and then it just created this horrible situation where Ezreal and Lulu, understandably, at the back of the fight, couldn't tank the turret, so they just had to split, and there wasn't enough DPS. It was really awkward team fighting there, and just unfortunate, because their initial decision, very, very good.
Unfortunately, the result, not what they wanted there. They lose 3 for 1 there, and their tier 2 tower, and their blue buff goes away as well. So lots of nice objectives there being followed up with those kills. And you know, we saw our Decimate's build last game, obviously going for that blue build Ezreal. Going a little light on the damage items. Vayne, not even close this time around. We've got Blade of the Rune Kicker, we've got Phantom Dancer, and Last Wisp is finished up now as well. So the trio of damage items up for Vayne. Negatron Cloak in there as well now. Likely going to go towards that Quicksilver Sash and into the eventual Mercurial Scimitar. But damage is done, and Ezreal, he needs to finish his Last Whisper here.
For sure, they really need that 80 damage. Their Jace, importantly, has picked up one, but yeah, about 1,400 gold away from Ezreal hitting kind of critical mass.
I mean, the other problem here for Ezreal, and it does make sense on Blue Ezreal, but he has very little lifesteal. There's no lifesteal items, may have a couple runes, could have some of that going, but if he gets caught, he's done, and he can't really lifesteal his way out of a fight. Even if he doesn't die, he has to be really, really careful if he gets too low, because, as I said, there's no way for him to effectively lifesteal back up, and you know, we saw a bit of a deviation for Elder. He kind of adapted the blue build to kind of suit a more traditional AD carry build. You know, got the Blade of the Rune King, which, to be fair, is definitely a popular blue Ezreal item as well. It's purple, not quite blue, but it's close enough. But not this time. He's gone the aggressive Spirit of the Elder Lizard pickup to start
Dale's
things off.
Coming in.
I think we're going to see. Slingshot, the Orianna cover there, and hits off there. Let's bounce in the back to Ezreal zoned out of that fight. Cardinal going in with the ultimate, can't quite get in there though. And Owl Decimate's going to pick up this Nautilus Crewy, flashing forward there as well. A good bit of poke there from Jace coming out, but Decimate's chasing down now his final hour. That's a pop Lulu as she goes down. Sooner chasing Chili Feely, all on his lonesome, and Decimate's going to come in. A great Zhonya's there from Elise. Cardinal now going to be the next to fall as Cocoon goes in. A triple kill for Vayne as she plays clean up. 3 clean kills for 0 there, starting with a great initiation there from Zach. Elise locked down the target. They needed to there. The only one left aside was Ryze, and Elise is like, you know what, I can comfortably tie you up 1v1. And now the Baron's going to come in here for HotSoggyDecimate. Miasma, maybe going to think about a miracle still. They're getting a little cocky trying to zone them out. They're getting kind of low. And here comes the True Shot Barrage in. Doesn't matter as Baron Nashor goes down. And huge jump here for HotSoggyDecimate in power. I mean, we talk about objectives after getting kills. Baron is big news in terms of objectives.
Baron's the main course, and they picked it up here. And you'd think, judging how the team fights are going, if they can pick one more critical Zac initiation, they'll probably be able to finish out this game.
Yeah, and that was the full glory of the Zac initiation. And I find it interesting that you don't, like, unlike the other more, I guess, direct combos, like we saw, you know, Orianna Malphite, it's a very classic one, Orianna Jarvan we saw last game as well. It's not, doesn't seem to be so much about, you know, ulting a carry with the Orianna ball and then immediately, ulting him back in for that great chain of CC. Zac is such a disruptive champion. His ultimate in particular is so disruptive that you don't even necessarily have to, pinpoint snipe somebody off with those ultimates. You can just use them as disruption. Zac's already in the back. You've delivered him in with Slingshot. The ball's in there as well. So anybody who tries to run forward when they realize what's happened to engage your backline is going to get brought back in, and anybody running away is going to get brought back through. And then Zac's there the whole time, doing damage and being disruptive with less bounce rolling. It's a really
You're right. I mean, positioning just goes to hell, right? There's not really any correct way to play that. There's no way to, apart from clicking backwards, that's all you can do. And it's why it's such a potent combination.
Yeah, I mean, you can, by all means, try and flash out of Zac's ultimate, but he's probably going to get you with the slow if you try and blink, and his ultimate covers a pretty nice bit of AoE, and I guess that's the difference. He's more of an AoE damage-based champion. He just sits in there and disrupts in the back lines, and it's really cool. I mean, we've seen a lot of Orianna before, but I don't think personally at the competitive level I've ever seen Orianna Zac. Certainly
Zac and newer champions of the league, but I mean, the other advantage that you could say there is that because of the range on that ability, you're able to, unlike Unstoppable Force and Jarvan's combo, which is usually in vision, you're able to do it from completely out of vision, and it just gives you that element of surprise.
And you can see every time, try or fail overall for the team fight, HotSoggyNoodles has been out of way, out of sight, out of mind. And I think it's honestly probably caught them by surprise every single time. You only need a couple of those combos to go right to start winning team fights. And now 10k in the lead, or thereabouts, about 500 gold short of the 10k lead, but very, very close to it at HotSoggyDecimate. The Baron buff still ticking away there as Zac just wanders back to solo Dragon. The tier 2 and bottom lane goes down there as well, so that tower's gone. You can see 5-4 in towers, the kill scores about 5 ahead as well. Got plenty of objectives up and just playing very well, very solid as a team here. And it's kind of interesting to see similar comps from last game kind of be reversed in this game and being played out, but I mean, if positioning was one of the strengths of HotSoggyDecimate in the last game, I think it's exemplified even more here in this game. If they had to warm up, for the first 50 minutes of that game to get their positioning right, they're definitely really nailing it here with their team fights, because everyone is almost always in the right spot.
I agree, and it feels like Chili Philly also, we were praising just how much damage he was doing. Now that it's not skirmishes, it's not 2v2s or 1v2s, where he can turn on that ult and the AoE and the bouncing damage can really surprise us. And now that we've got the Runic Bulwark completed on Zac, now that it's true team fights, he's just not influencing fights like we thought he might have.
Yeah, and Ryze, he's going for more of the tanky build. If the game continues on, he's definitely going to be happy. That HotSoggyNoodles in the back as well, disrupting going again. Cardinal, nothing he can do as they dive onto him. And Zac going to get out there as well. Just a quick one kill there. Actually, 2 as Lulu goes down as well. Poor Mauseum always killed by Elevate. And that's 2 quick kills.
Look at
and
the
tower
health bars
there.
though, page time. Only HotSoggyNoodles taking the turret is taking any damage here.
Yeah, and honestly, that Baron buff regen's kicking in. Sona heals in there as well. Plenty of health to go around here. Plenty of health in a siege as well. Orianna poking back and forth there. Blue buff, Baron buff, plenty of regen for Ori. So she can just poke out if she wants. Chili Philly, Crucial gonna get jumped on here. The Cocoon misses, and the Crescendo misses as well as Chili Philly walks out of that one. But Suna gonna close the gap there. Exhaust down as well there for Sona. Bubble King's gonna go in and try and assassinate Elise. It is gonna come out. Great shield in there from Elevate. He's not gonna quite get it done as Bubble Kings gets knocked up. But they're gonna chase in there. Crew actually doing a decent amount of damage. Elevate activates his Donnie's just Decimate, sends Kree into the wall. The Blade of the Ruin King activated in there as well. And Ezreal forced to flash back into his fountain for the regen. And this top inhibitor is going to go down. For all this arguably reckless play, it doesn't seem to matter here for HotSoggyDecimate. They're still going in. They probably want to get it now at this point as a great Condemn comes out there for Vayne. Good Orianna ultimate as well to kind of get everyone away. Decimate's still going very aggressive here. I think it's going to cost him his life here. As Elevate again is trying to kite them back and forth. Actually, Elevate's the target here, but he pulls the ball back. Not quite enough. As Zac snipes in and punches Ezreal in the face for the kill. And Noodles now could be in a little bit of trouble. Passive, I think, is up. Yes, it is. So they're going to go in here. Wild Growth knocks up Decimate, but there's one kill. Lulu can do nothing but watch herself die as her teammates fall around her. And an ace there gets completed with some aggressive dives left, right, and center. I mean, a couple, maybe 2 to 3 men lost there, but the inhibitor pushed down in top. Plenty of kills collected there. And I think, oh goodness, Chili Philly. He's going to come in, he teleports through, but a Condemn knocks him back. Cleanse actually used that by Decimate as well. I think he thought he got snared up there. Or maybe he just fat-fingered it, who knows. But everybody's out safely there. Very quick on the trigger there for Vayne with that Condemn. And sadly the teleport rise, we've seen it before, it can do absolutely devastating things, but both games here. So all 3 times we've seen Chili Philly use it, it's been with great intentions, but has never connected, unfortunately.
And teleport's such a situational spell. I think you pick it up thinking of the best case scenario, which is, an amazing unwatered brush where you get a counter gank off and pick up double kills and just change a laning phase. And look, it does work that way from time to time, but it has that risk to it. If you take teleport top lane and teleport bottom lane, you might lose your turret and then find an enemy who's picked up a lot of free CS while you were gone out of lane, and you can't 1v1 them anymore. If you take it as a mid laner and you don't make things happen, and you don't have that ignite, then you might lose that one-on-one trade. It just feels like ignite, for example, as a more standard pick, it almost always is useful. Like, it's almost always the right choice. Teleport has a lot of upside, but this game especially, we're starting to see some of the downside.
And even early on in this game, just Orianna versus Ryze mid, we saw that ignite got a lot of pressure early for Elevate, really got him going in that lane. He was, I think, 20 CS ahead at one point in that lane. I mean, it evened out as Ryze, jumped in power, had some items come through, and had that Essence Flux for that dueling capability. But, it has a profound effect on just the early stages of the game, because even in game 1, I believe you mentioned as well, no combat summoner in that lane, people are just going to want to kill you, because, they know that if they go in, they can't really fight you. And I think Baron is on the menu here. Oh goodness, this is the brush camp of a lifetime.
HotSoggyDecimate have certainly shown a penchant for the brush camp.
Zephyrus is like,
it won them the
boys.
First game, and it got them a nice engage here, so I can see why.
I don't know why they just double warded that blue, but they did. Zephyrus, Elevate walked over and watered, and then Zephyrus immediately walked over and watered the same spot. Baron's going to get started here, and Zephyrus already knows he has that Oracle, so he's cleared out all vision here. Oh, choose up Raj. Gonna help, but unfortunately that's all. And they know Baron's gone down, but they're not happy to learn that, unfortunately. And Miasma really on the back foot here in this one. And what was a very tense game 1. I mean, this game had its moments. Miasma certainly still not out of it even now. But HotSoggyDecimate have really looked more in control of this game than they did in game 1. And if they can't win from this spot, I think... I don't know what I'll say, I guess. Here comes
and look, they're completely in the ascendancy here. The only real kind of one-sided matchup here was the top lane, right? Where Elise, when she stayed in lane, really bossed Jace around. Eventually she started roaming to help other lanes that were a bit more even, and Jace caught up. But just the team fighting here, just the decision-making, especially from HotSoggy Noodles on his initiates. Zach's such a high-risk champion because you're initiating so far away, if it goes wrong, sometimes your team's never there to back you up. But his team's been on it's been on the right page, and it looks like they'll be eventually, after a lot of poke, be able to finish out this game.
Yeah, part of the issue here is that there's a lot of poke on Miasma, and I mean, Jace is doing damage. The Baron regen's going to be so helpful here, but they don't really have a good siege team, unfortunately. Vayne not a particularly good siege team. In fact, they're just going to siege break in there as HotSoggy Noodles wants to go in. Cardinal going to take the damage in there as well. Activates his ultimate, but it's bouncing the back there. Bubble keeps taking damage as well. Like Gook crescendo in there for Zephyrus to try and get out Jace. A great zone is there from Suna, but I think he's still going to die. In fact, the damage still coming in thick and fast. Elevate having trouble. Vayne is actually dead as HotSoggy's going to try and chase that Chili Philly. And that did not go the way they wanted it to there. That's a dead Zac. He's going to pop into his bubbles, but someone's going to get credit for killing the last blob here. I mean, Ezreal's still chasing the elevators, but Crew is looking for it. Doesn't quite get that Mystic Shot. Gets slowed down in there as well. Actually, Dissonance not happening, but Mystic Shot just shy there for the last bit. And there's a slow coming out for Elevate. But, I mean, even losing 4 members there, it's not good news for HotSoggyDecimate, but I think they still at least have one more chance to try again.
And I guess the question is, that was clearly an ill-advised turret dive. That was clearly something that didn't work out. But what can Miasma buy with this time? They can definitely get a bit more CS, maybe hit one more item threshold, but there's no global objectives for them to hit. They're not realistically going to be able to take down a turret. They might be able to secure their own buffs, but there's no Baron or Dragon to pick up. And, 7 turrets down, a lot of aggressive wards down. This is a good thing. We see Mauseum here clearing wards. At least that's relieving a bit of pressure from their immediate jungle, but they just have access to so few resources that only the minions that have kind of been hitting the base have been what they've been able to take down here.
I actually think Dragon might be up, but I don't think that Miasma can really go that far forward and try and take it out. Their timers aren't super long. They're reasonably long, but it's not, late game an hour past, but everyone's, dead for at least a minute and a half. But I mean, they can just push out their waves. The top inhibitor already spawned, so they can push out the super creep waves that are coming in, and they've done a really good job of actually keeping that clear, because with Baron buff with inhibitor down, you expect almost HotSoggyDecimate just sit in the mid lane, take the poke where they can, try and dodge it obviously, because it's not great news, but they've got the Baron regen, they can pretty safely just shake that all off, and eventually the top lane's going to push in, and they'll find time for a tower dive. I think they got a little greedy there, a little too eager. Thought with the Baron buff and their advantage that they could just get in there and wipe them. But a good defense there from Miasma is going to keep them in this game. I mean, and honestly, Papa, in terms of late game, what do you think's really going here for Miasma? Because we kind of know what's on the table for HotSoggyDecimate. You know, they've got Vayne, they've got a decent initiation lander, you know, a good way to team fight. What's on the other side there for Miasma?
Well, they have 3 damage threats here. You know, the Ryze, the Ezreal, the Jace, who can do a lot of damage, who do have good poke. They have a lot of things. Like, they basically have the core tenets of a comp. They have a CC initiation from Nautilus. They have a good long-range poke from Jace. They have good team fight damage from Ryze, and Ezreal's kind of a mix of team fight presence and poke and safety. So they have a lot going for them. And, I mean, what they have to do is they need to focus down that Vayne. Vayne, of course, has so much mobility approaching the enemy team. Running away, not so much. So they just need to be able to narrow down the Vayne, and then there's not the follow-up consistent damage on the HotSoggyDecimate side. That's kind of their window there, is the Vayne, obviously, she has 2 cleanses available once cleanses off cooldown. So she's hard to pin down, but they've done it once in the previous fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it, this game as well, just with the way the comps work out. I mean, Ezreal, obviously, kind of a solo Rambo mode champion, I guess. You know, he definitely does well as a lone wolf, but I mean, Elevate's Lux was crucial in how the strategy worked out for HotSoggyDecimate last game, in that, you know, it was a lot of the shields, it was a lot of poke, it was good damage, and just a lot of CC and enough room for them to really kite back as a team. Like, sure, Ezreal can get out himself, but Lux let everyone else get out while still keeping Ezreal safe. I think in this same instance, you know, they've got, you know, a front lane, they've got a back line, so Sona Vayne can team up, and Sona can help heal with her ultimate and, you know, heal up and do some damage. You know, Zac and Elise can dive in and be friends and try and get to the back line. In the middle, as is often the case, it's your AP mid champion. And Orianna, a team fight general, needs to really make sure the ebb and flow of the team fight is going in favor of her team in this instance. And I think, once again, Elevate's a lot of his positioning, a lot of how he plays with his abilities, going to make a big difference here. And of course, the positioning of everyone here, as is always the case in 5v5 team fights, going to be crucial. Because you're right, if they can pick up that Vayne, they can probably pick up everybody else.
It's looking like we have to wait for the HotSoggy Noodles initiate for a fight to happen, though. That's their initiation. That's what's going to happen. Nautilus isn't in a position to really ult anyone, especially with the QSS and cleanse up on Vayne. So a lot of stalemating here. But I mean, Jace and Ezreal, massive poke.
Yeah, I mean, and the poke is really hurting them here. I have to say, it's funny that you made the comment last game that Miasma's comp felt a little bit linear, a little bit binary. I almost feel the same about HotSoggyDecimate's comp. Like, as you said, what's their initiate? It's Zac.
It's the same when you talk about sieging down anything. Not that there's much to siege down this game. They don't have much range on any of their abilities apart from the slingshot. I mean, Vayne 550 auto attack range, Elise, you know, around 475, Orianna about the same. They don't have long range to poke down an inhibitor, for example, or Caitlyn. So they have to look for that Zac engage, because as you pointed out, he's the only real ball carrier. I believe when Elise goes untargetable, that resets the ball. So they only really have that Zac to carry the ball into the team fight.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Elise can dive in, but you're right in that Zac kind of has to get it started. And I mean, you saw the range hurting them there. They tried to push down the mid tower with Baron buff and seed it up, and they just couldn't do it. They absolutely could not push down that tower, and, you know, they kind of got a little eager, pushed in a little too quickly, and that cost them. It cost them a lot of time. The blue inhibitor respawned. I mean, Miasma still very behind in terms of metrics here, but we're getting to a point in the game, you know, approaching another 50-minute game, Papa, where that gold lead doesn't really matter. It's, you know, it's the team fighting, it's the positioning, it's how you play as a team, and certainly how you control the area around Baron. And right now with this Oracles here, with Baron actually back up, hello, my friend, can be really crucial here. And Zephyr's actually aggroing it there. Just to give it a little bit of vision.
We look at the gold lead. 14k looks like a lot, but as you point out, it's getting late. If you look down the items for Miasma, there's no one who's really screaming for that one more item that is not being afforded by this gold deficit. Like Ezreal, he's at his 6-item build. You know, he's max items. Jace, I guess he could do another AD item, but he's looking pretty healthy here, a mix between some magic-resistant damage here. So, I mean, and Nautilus is a tank wall. He's got the Locket of Iron Solari, the Spirit of the Ancient Golem, and the Runic Bulwark. You can't ask for much more. So the fight is becoming more and more about the comp and less about the advantage that HotSoggyDecimate have carved out over 47 minutes. We're going along again, pastry time.
We are indeed. I mean, would you give any comp the advantage in late game just based on composition, or do you think It's kind of even as far as damage and CC and teamfight goes overall.
It's all about how well they can play.
Beautiful zonies, but I think it's still going to kill Elevate. They actually have to go in there. HotSoggy Noodle is actually going to kind of give up his life here, but the rest of your team might be able to come and crescendo on a chili flare. They want to pick him off. Condemns him away a little too far, unfortunately, but a good Oriana roll onto Zac, who's still alive as Elise comes around the side. And amazingly, they're keeping up 4v5, a double kill for Vayne, and now that Elise is here, it cannot be good news for Miasma. And that was a very bold play there from Zac, but it worked out that Chili Flea going to finally get dropped off. Healed all the way back up the field with that Spellbound plus Spirit Visage, but caught off there by Vayne at Blade of the Ruin King at the last minute. And fantastic play from HotSoggyDecimate to keep themselves in that fight. But that was actual 4v5.
And that anchor toss from Nautilus was like the best and worst of both worlds. I watched it in awe as I was like, oh, Elevate's in trouble here. But the Zhonya's turned everything around. And it looks like HotSoggyDecimate are going to be able to take this out 2-0.
Crew here going to get popped. The rest of the team coming in. And Ezreal is going to die there as Zac picks up the last kill. And that few precious seconds of stasis, Papa Smithy, means the difference between Miasma staying in this game and possibly winning, and a 2-0 here for HotSoggyDecimate. So a well-deserved win. Both times they're definitely hard fought between these two teams. But there's only one team advancing to the round of 8 here, and that is HotSoggyDecimate with the 2-0.
And GG well played to both teams, and a special shout out to Miasma here. They just won the Cybergamer Open League, have shown their ability, and here against a lot of veterans of the scene, as we pointed out, a very, very respectable performance. I mean, a 50-minute and an hour-long game against some really, really strong names and strong players shows that they have a lot going with their team and a lot of promise.
Yeah, so definitely look forward to seeing them again in the scene. Hopefully they stick around. I mean, they'll be happy with top 16, but I don't think anybody's happy in this situation if you're not going to PAX.
Unfortunately, you just have 4 winners, right? There's 4 winners and 12 losers, unfortunately. There's not... It's just a so sad kind of moment for everyone that doesn't make it through.
Yeah, but sadly, as we said, only one team can go through tonight here, and our winner for the match on stream is, of course, a 2-0 there. A hard-fought one as well. HotSoggyDecimate had their work cut out for them, but they will advance to the top 8. One more best-of-3 away, Papa Smithy, until they get to be possibly the first team that gets to go through to PAX. And we are, of course, playing the round of 16 here tonight, tomorrow night, and the night after, so tonight, Thursday, and Friday. But, one team through. I don't know how the other matches went. I'm sure we'll get confirmation after the break, but we are going to have an interview with someone from the winning team. Of course, Zephyrus from HotSoggyDecimate will be joining us in a couple of minutes, guys. So we'll take a quick interview. We'll get the rest of the results from you as well if the other round of 16 matches from tonight have finished up. And we'll be back shortly, guys, as we round out night 1 here for the online qualifiers for the Oceanic Season 3 Championship. Stay with us for the interview. We'll be back with Zephyrus.